Welcome to Sleepy Tales. My name is Mateus, and before we begin today's story, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below saying, "I'll sleep well tonight." Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into tonight's tale. The small town of Millfield was a quiet place where nothing ever happened. But that all changed one day when a mysterious virus swept through the town, turning people into flesh-eating zombies. The once peaceful streets were now filled with the moans and groans of the undead, and the survivors were forced to band together if they wanted to stay alive. Among the survivors was a brave police officer named John, a brilliant doctor named Maria, a desperate mother named Sarah, and her young son, Timmy. They knew they had to find a way out of the town before it was too late, but every road and bridge was blocked by the hordes of zombies. One day, as they were searching for a way out, they stumbled upon a lab that had been abandoned by its scientists. Inside, they found evidence that the virus had been created in the lab as a biological weapon. Maria was horrified by what she saw and vowed to find a cure for the virus. But finding a cure was easier said than done. The group was constantly on the move, trying to avoid the zombies that seemed to be everywhere. They scavenged for food and supplies, and fought off the occasional zombie attack. It was a hard life, but they were determined to survive. As they made their way through the town, they discovered a bridge that would lead them to safety. But the bridge was crawling with zombies, and there was no way they could cross it without being noticed. After much discussion, they decided to try to lure the zombies away from the bridge by setting off some explosives on the other side of town. The plan worked, and the zombies were drawn away from the bridge. The group quickly made their way across and thought they had finally found a way out. But as they continued on their journey, they began to realize that the virus had spread much further than they had thought. The world outside was just as dangerous as the town they had left behind. Despite the danger, they kept moving forward, hoping to find a cure for the virus. Maria worked tirelessly to find a solution, and after weeks of research, she thought she had found a vaccine that would work. The group was elated at the news and eagerly took the vaccine. But as time went on, they began to realize that something wasn't right. They didn't feel any different, and the zombies still seemed just as dangerous. It was then that they discovered the shocking truth: Maria had been the one who created the virus in the first place. She had been experimenting on the survivors, using them as test subjects for her vaccine. The vaccine wasn't a cure, but a way to make them immune to the virus so she could continue her experiments. The group was horrified and felt betrayed by the one person they had trusted. They confronted Maria, but it was too late. She had already infected them with her virus, and there was no going back. They were now just like the zombies they had been fighting against. The group was devastated, but they knew they had to keep going, to find a way to reverse the virus and make things right. The story of Millfield and its survivors had come to a tragic end, but their legacy would live on. They had fought for their lives and for the hope of a cure, and even though they had failed, they had shown the world what it meant to be truly courageous in the face of danger. As the group continued on their journey, they soon discovered that they were not alone. Other survivors had managed to escape the town and were also searching for a cure to the virus. One of these survivors, a scientist named Dr. Lee, had been working on a cure for the virus and had made some promising progress. Dr. Lee had discovered that the virus could be cured by a rare plant that only grew in a specific area, several hundred miles away. The group knew that they had to make the journey to retrieve the plant if they were ever going to find a way to reverse the virus. After weeks of traveling through dangerous territory, the group finally arrived at the location of the rare plant. They were elated and thought that their journey was finally over. But as they were about to retrieve the plant, they were ambushed by a group of heavily armed soldiers. The soldiers had been sent by a shadowy government organization that had been behind the creation of the virus in the first place. They were determined to keep the virus a secret and would do whatever it took to stop anyone from finding a cure. The soldiers captured the group and took them to a secret underground facility. There, they were experimented on and used as test subjects for the government's twisted experiments. The group was horrified by what they saw and knew that they had to escape if they were ever going to have a chance of finding a cure. After months of being held captive, the group finally managed to escape from the facility. They were battered and bruised, but they knew that they had to keep going if they were ever going to find a way to reverse the virus. They continued their search for a cure, but they were constantly on the run from the government agents who were determined to stop them. Finally, after years of searching, the group managed to find a cure for the virus. They had to use all of their knowledge and resources to synthesize the cure, but they were finally successful. The group was elated and thought that their journey was finally over. But as they were about to administer the cure, they were once again ambushed by the government agents. The agents had been tracking them for years and were determined to stop them from finding a cure. In a final desperate act, the group decided to inject themselves with the cure, hoping that it would make them immune to the virus and give them the strength they needed to fight off the agents. The cure worked, but it also had a side effect that no one could have predicted. The group had become something more than human. They had gained superhuman strength and agility, as well as an insatiable hunger for flesh. They had become the very thing they had been fighting against, the zombies. The group was horrified by what they had become and knew that they could never go back to their old lives. They had become the monsters they had been fighting against, and there was no going back. They were now the ultimate weapon against the government agents who had been hunting them for years. The group of zombie super soldiers had finally found a way to fight back against their oppressors, and they were more dangerous than ever before. Their journey had come full circle, and they were now the ones in control. The story of Millfield and its survivors had taken a dark turn, but their legacy would live on, as they became the monsters that would eventually bring down the very government that had created them. Thank you for listening to this bedtime story, and remember, if you struggle with falling or staying asleep at night, click on the first link in the description for the ultimate solution to your problem. Now, choose one of these two videos and continue on our journey in the world of bedtime stories.